Hello friends, welcome back to Cosmopolitan Cornbread. So I shared a while back, well several years ago, about mixing up your own refills for the foaming hand soap. It's so easy to make. You just do 1 part Castile soap and 3 parts water. Although I went a little heavy on the Castile soap in this batch, but that's okay. You can reuse a foaming hand soap bottle, or you can buy these handy little caps that fit on mason jars. They sell them on Amazon like everything else. Little Miss Bean recently discovered Oma's foaming soap, and now she wants to use that to wash her hands every time. Now, I shared the other day about the beautiful handmade pottery Cosmopolitan Cornbread mugs, but I hadn't yet announced the day that the mugs would be going in the Etsy shop. You'll be able to get these on May 6th at 6 p.m. Central Time, and you can find a link to the Etsy shop in the video description down below. So the weather is beautiful. It's about 80 degrees today, and it looks like we are in the clear to start truly planting. Now, this bed here that you're looking at is a bit of a mess. I decided I was going to use a technique that I'd seen people talk about and heard people talk about, read about over the years, and that is setting aside one bed every year to be your giant compost pile. And so since this bed last year was one of the worst beds, I had 2 beds in particular that were just terrible. They didn't produce really much of anything. All of the plants struggled. It's also the 2 beds that had different soil than all of the rest of the beds. And so I decided to just take this one right here and turn this into my compost bed this year. So in the fall, I'll stop putting stuff in here, let it continue to break down everything that's gone in, food scraps, coffee grounds, coffee filters, and all of that, and we'll just let it all break down all winter long. And then next year, I'll use a different bed as the compost bed. Actually, the one behind you, the one that was the second worst bed in the year. So I bought this little kind of tilling sort of tool specifically just for doing this. I'm mixing the compost. So all of the things that I'm putting in here, they can just get mixed into the soil. I figured this is a great way to just kind of turn the compost and just over time let everything get mixed in, get broken down, aerating the soil like you should, or aerating the compost, I should say. And so yeah, this is what I'm gonna do at least for the next couple of years and just see how it goes. You know, it is a challenge when you are starting a new garden from scratch. When we lived in Alabama, we had, you know, all of that beautiful flat space to grow in, but what we didn't have was great soil. We had clay. And it was hard as concrete, no life to be found in it, clay. As a matter of fact, the first time I dug into the soil, dug into the clay, there wasn't an earthworm to be found. And I spent several years building beds, developing the soil, creating a beautiful environment, ecosystem in the soil. And every year the soil got better and better. And when we left, those in-ground garden beds that I had built, had spent several years working on, instead of it being hard as concrete, you could take your fingers, dig down into the soil, and come up with earthworms everywhere. It was beautiful. So here we are in Arkansas. It's a new garden with new beds that had all sorts of challenges last year. I'll put a link up there to the video that really dives into it. But again, we're starting with new beds. This is new soil and not necessarily the greatest soil. So it's going to take time to develop the ecosystems again, to have rich and healthy soil. Trying to do things as naturally as possible, not using a lot of fertilizers and chemicals and things like that. Just trying to do things naturally and allowing God's design, His nature, to help along the way. So there's the compost bed for the year. And then this over here is the other bed that was just absolutely terrible last year. I did plant some cabbages in here in the fall. They didn't really do much of anything, but of course, like I said, they were terrible beds. And so they've already gone to flower. They didn't really produce anything. These were Savoy cabbage plants. The wind knocked this one over with the storms we had last week. This one's still kind of standing up, but they've gone to flower, and I'm just kind of letting them do their thing. I'll tear these out when I start really coming out and planting everything. This right here is a flower that I planted last year, and to be honest, I can't remember what it is. I'll have to go back and look at one of my videos from last year when I planted this so I can remember what it is. Over in here I did plant some bulbs. I like to put flowers in my beds, particularly along the ends, because it helps bring in pollinators. So down right here in the end I had a few bulbs, and these are I call them torch lilies. They're also called red hot pokers. We had them in Alabama, and they're one of the earliest spring flowers. They're like the first thing that you see with color in the springtime. So I don't know that we'll get any this year, but hopefully we'll get some next year, and we'll have those beautiful fiery plants. I do have some poison ivy popping up here. Same spot they were in last year, so I need to come out here with my vinegar and give them a good dousing. I don't want to pull those out with my bare hands. What are you doing, Nubsy? He's like, I'm in the garden. He can't usually get in here because of the electric fence. But we've got some thyme down there that came back. We've got some hyssop. We've got the tricolor sage over there. It's looking rough, but it's still alive, so I'll just kind of leave it for now and trim it back later on. I have some tomato plants that I planted about a week or so ago. These are Egyptian walking onions. I've got some here, there. I've got a few of them over there. And I have a couple of them in the end of this bed. This over here is zucchini. Just some starts that I picked up at the farmer's co-op. My rhubarb has come back nice and happy. This bed over here is taking off like crazy. We've got the thyme and oregano that Nubsy is cuddling up with there. The sages are popping up. I've got asparagus fronds everywhere. Look at this. They're everywhere. Taller than me. But again, more herbs, lots of sage. We have this golden marjoram. That is a weed, so we'll pull that out. Some more garden sage. Oh, I love the smell of that. All right. Over here we have some onion starts that I planted, just picked up at the farmer's co-op, and hopefully they'll do pretty good here. I've not had a lot of success planting onions, so I keep trying. One of these days I'll figure it out. More thyme over there, more of that beautiful golden marjoram over there. All right, and then over here on this trellis, I've got some of my peas that I planted a couple weeks ago. They're coming up pretty well. We've got them wrapping around the trellis. This is the rosemary that I planted last year. Again, oh, I love the smell of rosemary. It smells so good. And speaking of trellises, a couple days ago, Mr. Smith and I came out here and he gave me a hand wrestling some cattle panels in here, and we put 2 of the trellises in, connecting the beds. So, you know, Lord willing, I'll be able to plant things that will travel up and we'll just have beautiful arches covered in garden goodies. So I've got 2 sets connected. Later on, I'll put another one down there. At some point, I do plan on adding another pair of beds past that, and I would just love to have a tunnel going all the way through. If I do that, then I may go ahead and move this middle, this cattle panel right here, so that I can have a walkway going all the way down through here. That would be nice. So I brought both of my metal rings down from up by the house. I had grown some tomatoes and stuff like that in those the first year. And this particular bed is for Little Miss Bean. I'm just going to plant a bunch of flowers and things like that in there. And then I have another one over there that I'm about to plant blueberries in. Blueberries do like their roots to be able to drain well, and so I kind of felt that that would be a good use for that ring. So this week I have been celebrating the biblical feast of unleavened bread, and I decided to make 2 batches, one with traditional flour and one with my freshly milled flour. And I also decided to pull out my KitchenAid to mix them, but I realized very quickly that doing little bitty batches of dough in this mixer just wasn't going to work. The dough hook just skimmed across the top instead of really grabbing the dough and doing anything with it. And so the Anchor's Room came to the rescue, and it worked great with the smaller batches of dough, just like it does the bigger batches. Little Miss Bean playing in the kitchen, pretending to bake and cook. This ain't nothing that a vacuum can't take care of, but the playtime is valuable. But it's worth it to see her enjoying herself and cooking with Oma. It's okay for kids to make messes sometimes. It's all part of learning and playing and growing. This homemade unleavened bread also doubles as absolutely delicious and buttery homemade tortillas. You can get the recipe on my website. I'll put the link in the video description down below. Now, I shared a while back about my little cheat sheet that I keep in the kitchen cupboard. It has the basic measurements and ingredients for many of the things that I make on a regular basis. But every so often, I update it with different recipes because the things that we eat the most tend to change over time. So I printed out a new one and I pulled out my handy dandy laminator. I will tell you that every time I pull this thing out, I have a little bit of nostalgia because you see, I bought this old laminator back when I was homeschooling my children. And I'm sure there's laminators that are newer and faster and do an even better job than this one, but I will always love using this one for as long as it lasts, simply because of those lovely memories that I get to experience every time I use it. I loved homeschooling my kids, and they grow up so quickly. I was thinking about making my cheat sheet available if there's an interest for it. If there is, let me know in the comments down below.
That's it for today, friends. Thanks for spending time with me here again at the homestead. God bless, and I'll talk to y'all next time.